Telling Joanna about this last week. The thing that keeps happening for me, they're like, "Oh, your astigmatism has changed," and they take the same lens and they just rotate it, and suddenly it's fine. Suddenly, everything's clear.
Huh.
Have you heard of this before?
No, I have not.
That's just, well, I don't understand it. How do eye doctors do what they do?
I don't know. But they've made so much progress with the eye that it is just uncanny.
Yeah. Are you ever gonna do the surgery, the
LASIK
thing?
No, I don't think so. I had a doctor in Dallas he had the biggest practice in Dallas that lived across the street from us. And, Debbie kept saying, "Hey, maybe you ought to go to him." And I said, "No, I don't think, this stuff is too new. Let's wait a century or so."
I had somebody that did, almost everybody that I've talked to has said, "Oh my goodness, you got to do the LASIK surgery thing." And my aunt, I don't know if Aunt Debbie ever watches this, but she and her husband had a problem with it. And they had a complication. But here's the crazy thing. Even with the complications, they said, "Oh, I would absolutely do it again." It was so helpful. Yeah, I think it just clears your vision up so much. So let's start a GoFundMe. Both Pastor and I can both have LASIK surgery.
No,
We'll film the whole thing.
Y'all fund him. I don't want it.
We'll make a mini documentary out of it.
They'd have to knock me out to get close to my eye.
Well, at least I've got glasses that help right now. That's the thing.
Man, it just, anything gets toward my eye gets scary.
You've never been a contacts guy?
I tried that one time, and I said, "I'll never be able to put these in." So the guy literally, Debbie's in there with me, but the guy literally wrestles me in the chair and holds me back and puts in my, listen, I'm telling you. And then I can't, because I have stigmatism as well.
Oh, you're the same as me.
And
then they got to get
he says, "Well, at that time, you need to wear your glasses too." And I said, "You are crazy.
You got to do glasses and the contact now."
And I said, that's why do the contact.
How long ago was this? Was this before they had the disposables?
This was back in the 80s.
So they were going to give you permanent ones, huh?
No,
okay.
It was disposable.
Oh, okay. My Dad, do you still wear the permanent ones? Dad is like, he's the last one holding on. He still wears the old
hard
school
glass.
He went in there to get the old hard contacts. So he went in there to get the disposable ones, and they're like, "Well, there's no use. The shape of your eyes have changed from wearing contacts so long." He said,
"Yeah,
I paid y'all $200 to tell me that. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
I just sat in here for a room and waited for you to come in just so you could tell me you can't do nothing. Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
Appreciate
that kind of irritated me too when the guy said, because I went back, I said, "Man, I can't, everything is blurry." He said, "Well, you probably, with your astigmatism, you're probably going to need to wear your glasses." I said, "Well, phooey, okay, I'm taking these things out and forget that."
Well, I like the glasses. See, and this was one of the first things I noted about you when you came in. You do this great, you use the glasses to connect with people even more as you're preaching. That's helpful for me. Like, hey, I'm taking off my glasses right now. You better listen up. I can't see you, but you'd better look me right in the eye. I really like that a lot.
I do it subconsciously.
I know you do. I remember. I didn't realize how locked in you were and Pike will remember
Until
this.
you started coming to church.
Until I actually opened up the Bible, and then I always actually say this. No, there was one day when we messed something up, and what else is new, right? We messed something up on stage, and I left a microphone stand, and it was right in, because you walk back and forth, and it was right in the path where you walk.
Yeah.
And you walked right up to that thing as you were talking and grabbed it and twisted something on it. And you're locked in, you're preaching, and you twisted something on it. And we were like, "Oh man, that's so lame. That's so bushly. We left the mic stand out there." And we talked to you about it on Monday. And you were like, "What mic stand?"
I don't remember. I don't remember now.
I didn't remember it at all. I didn't remember it all. I was like, "Man, you're locked in. You're saying what you need to say."
You could probably skin a cat out there and it won't bother me. But now, if it were one of my children, it just distracts me something terrible.
I thought about that yesterday because, now my daughter's getting baptized, which is incredible. We'll talk about that in a second. But we had all of the cousins there too, and we were all sitting on the front row. What's the problem with the front row? You got plenty of room to move around in, and these kids are walking back and forth, walking.
I never saw that.
And my sister-in-law was like, "Is Pastor going to be mad about this?" I'm like, "He doesn't see any of it. It's not his kids. He's going to be fine."
I never saw it. I never saw
I
it.
knew you wouldn't. But I told him to sit still. I'm trying to, learn him to sit still in there. And they're doing better. They're doing better. One of Nell's little baptism gifts, this is such a thoughtful gift. Who gave this to her? I think it was her aunt. Gave her a new little word search, like a Bible word search that she can be working on while you're preaching. And
Oh, how neat.
my my brother-in-law was like, it's for the New World Translation. Is that okay?
My stars. Oh, how horrible.
Like
to even
sponsored
think
by
that
the
you would-
Watchtower Society.
Yeah, really. Really.
That cracked me up when he said that. Well, it was a really good day yesterday.
Yeah,
just
it
on the
was. It was
whole.
great. Your baptism of your daughter was really special. That was so neat.
Wow, just the faithfulness of the Lord, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just praying yesterday. Gosh, because that was our oldest daughter. She came along after an extended season of infertility, which most people are like, what? Because you got 4 kids now. I know, but she came along, and just the fact that we had a daughter at all is such amazing grace, and then her coming to faith at a young age, just wonderful.
Well, it's exactly what you said yesterday. We rear these children in Christian homes, in a strong Christian environment, and it's kind of, we're shocked when they do embrace Christ early on. And we shouldn't be. That's what we now, to continue to foster that.
That's the key.
Involves more and more time the older they get.
Well, and you and me talked offline about this. Like when she started asking those questions and thinking about it more, clearly giving it more thought. I came to you. I talked to some other wise counselors as well, and just like, is this for real? And you assured me that yes, it is. Even Christ himself says, let the children come unto me, do not refuse them, for to such belongs the kingdom of God. What other evidence do you need? We had Barrett Gibson the week before. This week we've got Seth Thomas Johnson is getting baptized.
Oh, good.
So, and then a couple weeks after that, another young, I think he's 10. Is it Matthew Cruz getting baptized? So just. Yes, so the children are coming unto the Lord.
That's great. That's a natural thing for children who are reared. It's, you almost have to teach a child not to believe.
That's such a great point.
Because it is so in their heart to believe in God.
Yeah, the faith of a child is such a real thing.
It is.
Well, and what Paul says in Romans chapter 1, that all of us, this is imprinted on our heart. Part of the image of God is this ability to respond to him, and it seems like we so often grow up and we let it get beat out of us.
It's such a part of a child's heart to trust in God that it is no surprise that there is an all-out satanic attack on children today.
That's such a scary thing. I talked to my dad yesterday. He even preached on that. That was like part of his conclusion, just thinking about the attack on the children and the family.
Yeah, I thought about you folks. I'm sure they watched it on.
Yeah. I sent them the link, and they were just glad to celebrate that with us.
I thought, it would have been a great Sunday. I know that they would have loved to have been here.
Oh yeah, I think maybe we'll be able to coordinate it, Lord willing, when some of the other kids get baptized. But they're going to visit later this summer, I think. So we'll figure that out.
Good.
But I want to wrap all that up. I just wanted you to maybe expound on that point, because you talked about how the baptism, it's not the end of the road. Obviously, it's in many respects the beginning of discipleship.
It's the beginning. It is. It's the beginning of discipleship.
And this is a critique that I think some people rightfully have of. Well, I guess it's not just the Baptist church, but every church, because you get to this point of. In other churches, the confirmation or what have you, and here, baptism, and then it's like, okay, you're done. Yeah. You don't need anything else. You're good. You got your fire insurance.
Yeah.
But that has to be the beginning of something.
Yeah, it is, because we, as Baptists who hold to the New Testament, don't believe that baptism saves. It does not save.
That's right.
There's no salvific power in baptisms, but it is an act of obedience, which is a first step in discipleship.
That's right.
And that's kind of what I talked about some yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I hit on the discipleship. It's good to be in a discipleship position. It's good to be in a D group. It's good to be in a life group. two different things. You get two different areas going on here. And it's important for us to be discipled all your life. I watched a couple of men, had a breakfast meeting early at 7 o'clock this morning, and I watched about half a dozen men who must, obviously, they're in their 70s. Every one of them had a black journal and a Bible.
That's
and they were going
about.
in and
Nice.
they sat around. So you do it till the day you die.
Amen.
You know.
I love that. I want to talk more about that in a second, because how that relates to worship and everything. But we need to talk about something really, really important before then.
Okay.
Pastor, we've all gathered around here today to stage an intervention, because it had been at least 12 weeks since you'd said anything about Andy Griffith.
Had it really?
It's been a long time. And thank the Lord you finally got back on track yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Fine.
Okay.
So I love that clip, the Morrison sisters. I had to look it up because I don't have the extent. My Andy Griffith knowledge is nowhere close to my Hebrew knowledge, so I had to look that up. And it turns out that that's in season 1.
Yeah, season 1.
Episode 17. I cannot believe that you know all this. This is ridiculous. Do you remember what the name of the episode is? I'm going to take away my notes.
Alcohol and Old Lace. And let me tell you what it's based off of. It's based off of the old movie with Cary Grant entitled Arsenic and Old Lace. If you've never seen that movie, Arsenic and Old Lace, do yourself a favor. Tonight, set up a little date with your wife and, cut you some cheese and some crackers, make you one of those little protein shakes, and sit down and watch what will be one of the funniest movies you will ever see.
Oh, it's a comedy.
Yes, Cary Grant in Arsenic and Old Lace.
Now, it's a murder mystery, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the stage play a million years, because it was originally the play, right? Yeah. And then they made it into the movie. Yeah.
I love it.
So Andy Griffith, they play on that. So
they play on that. It's alcohol and Old Lace.
Because these old women who you'd never assume, they
two
build
old
a still.
Maids, there they are, Clarabelle and Jennifer Morrison. Now, at the end of that, they've got, they started a still, but they do not believe that it's bad to have a little celebration on a special occasion.
Right.
And that's what they sell that for, celebration. So you had to have a celebration. And so people are coming up with, Muhammad's birthday.
Just so they can have a celebration.
And in that, it's funny how to listen to those women talk about Muhammad's birthday. Potato week, this week, happy Sir Walter Raleigh landing day is what Otis
But isn't Mayberry supposed to be a dry town?
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's the whole thing. Is he said, this is a dry county, and we're going to keep this county dry.
My favorite part, because I looked up some of the quotes of the episode, my favorite part is they try to get Otis to turn the ladies in, but he said, even we drunks have a code of ethics.
Yeah, we've got a code of ethics here.
Now, I know you know all this, but for the viewers, the trivia about the man who played Otis.
Yeah.
Because his voice...
Hal Lindsey, yeah.
That's right. His voice was prominently featured in Adventures in Odyssey.
A lot of children's cartoons had his voice.
He was John Avery Whitaker, in Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool. Yeah. So there you go. There's your Andy Griffith show trivia for the day. And I'm working hard. Pastor's got me preaching in a couple weeks, and so most of the sermon so far is different Andy Griffith episodes. I'm going to add some Bible later, but most of it right now is just starting with a bunch of Andy Griffith.
Lord. Well, I guarantee you everybody walked out of there with a picture of Martha and Mary in their head.
It was perfect. Now, they probably weren't that old, though, right?
No, they were not. They were not. Not as old. But you got the personality. Clarabelle is always talking. She's the one that's always leading. Right. She's the one that's always out front. Jennifer's a little quieter. And, in the opening, Andy comes out of the barbershop and he's had witch hazel, and I just love the smell of witch hazel. And Clarabelle says, "Oh, Jennifer, you'll be the death of me." So, anyway.
So those are the two sisters. They're featured prominently there in the text that you preached yesterday. And did you tell us what led you to this? Because you were thinking...
I guess maybe because it was Mother's Day, and I thought, I've not really done anything but maybe once on Mother's Day since I've been here.
Right.
And I got to thinking about this and reading it, and I began to look at, what was the outcome of these and over in John. And I thought, however, these two women had nothing to do with Mother's Day. And I said, if this were Thomas and James, it'd still be the same.
I thought that was wise. Yeah, it's not a men and women
It's
thing.
not let's look and put women in a bad light kind of deal.
Just
it was
human
not.
nature.
It was just human.
Yeah. Well, and you also connected, I forgot that you had said this, maybe you just said it to me in a meeting, but how it also connects back to that theme of worship in Exodus.
Yeah, it does. That's what I was trying to connect at the end, is how did this event affect Martha? Well, yes, it did. And all you have to do is go to John chapter 11.
Yes.
And in John chapter 11, you see that.
She's talking with Jesus right before the resurrection of Lazarus.
That's exactly right. And she makes one of the two great confessions of faith in the New Testament. Now, Peter had just done that. This is out of sequence, by the way.
Right.
And it's out of sequence on purpose. Now, I never got to that to tell that,
That's
but if you look at, I'm sorry, back here in Luke chapter 10, the story of Mary and Martha here is out of sequence, but it's the way the Lord led Luke to do it, because it comes right after the Good Samaritan.
Right.
And who is my neighbor? Well, everybody's your neighbor. You see this guy doing service. Mm-hmm. He serves a person that he doesn't even know, that's even opposite of him, that would happen. And so this comes and it flows right into the service of Martha. And so there is a reason why these are connected.
Yes, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about the Gospels, is that the way that they're put in order, the different vignettes, or whether it's parables or sermons, whatever, it's not necessarily chronological.
No, John is more chronological.
Right.
The other three synoptic Gospels really follow a theme, or they will pull, like this story is pulled and put in here because it follows the theme that Luke is writing right there.
So you were talking about how worship is what reveals to Martha that you are, similar to Peter's confession, you're the Christ, Son of the living God.
Yeah.
And then she makes that next confession of who Christ is there in John 11. I thought that was a really interesting point, and of course I love messages like this because I'm so interested in just Christian worship and how worship affects our souls. And you even talked about how, like, her walking with the Lord, that was the point you made. Her walking with the Lord gave her a greater understanding of who the Lord was, and that's what she reveals.
Yeah, because she, both in Luke 10 and in John 11, she goes out, and it evidently is at some distance. She hears Jesus is coming. She goes out to see him. She walks out, and I think it's further than the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
I think it is on out at a distance she goes, and she spends that time walking and talking with Christ. She does that here in Luke chapter 11. In Luke chapter 10. They were traveling along. He entered a village. A woman named Martha welcomed him. They evidently were out. She was out, I have no doubt, somewhere in the marketplace. So they're a little ways from their home. So she walks with him.
That's a really good point. Actually, wow, yeah, that's I'm glad that we got that here on the pod today, because that's a really good point. Because you made a helpful observation that most of the messages about Mary and Martha, they tend to cast Martha in a really negative light.
I think they do.
But this, talking about the way that she was intent upon walking with the Lord, shows that she really had the best intentions.
Yeah, I think so. I think when she started this off, she did. And that's what I said. There came a shift here where, all the things nagging at her, pulling at her, and all got her to focus more on her gift than on Jesus.
That's an important distinction.
It is for me, because, like I said, this past Thursday I was up in Cookeville, Tennessee. Robbie Gallaty was there, and it's not often that I get to sit and listen to someone else preach. And he was going through some discipleship stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm just making a lot of application to my own personal life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking about this as well. And I think about, do I let the gift of preaching become more my focus than Jesus? And I think we all do that.
Oh, of course.
And I
we
think
do.
that's when we begin to get agitated and irritated and frustrated. And it comes out in the way we talk to other people, our husbands, our wives, our children, our work associates, the way you talk to me sometimes. And,
I told you never to mention that here.
So, just the way and I think that frustration comes out when we've got our gift and Christ out of balance in our life.
You take a good thing and you turn it into a God thing.
Yeah. It's a very good thing. The gifts God given you are very good things until that becomes more important than Christ.
The Lord must be doing something specific here, because what you said, first of all, I really appreciated how personal you made that. I mean, that helps everyone apply. If you in the pulpit are willing to apply this truth to yourself and show us what you're thinking. But it's interesting because I said something really similar to the music team on Wednesday night. We were talking about the whole gifts and like how we can't it's not about us. We can't get wrapped up in the skill that we have. So yeah, that hit me between the eyes too, because I'm like, Lord, but you're hitting me with this multiple times, So I guess I'd better listen.
I brought out, because Robbie made a comment, he had these 5 things that he said, these are 5 points to discipleship that we've gotten wrong, 5 myths. And one was excellence in ministry. Now, we all want to do excellent work. We all want what we do to be done at our top level.
Of course. That's not
But
wrong.
oftentimes, we come to the place where we put more emphasis on the excellence than we do the ministry.
I've definitely done that before. Yeah,
we've got to be so correct, so perfect in this, that becomes the important issue rather than the ministry to somebody.
And that is definitely what Martha's problem was. Clearly, she had the gift of helps or the gift of service. Maybe even admin was wrapped up in there. She's cooking for these 13 people that have come in the house. But she overvalued. She made a god in that moment, an idol out of her gift of service. But on the other side, because it's really a spectrum, on the other side, you've got Mary, who's so committed to just hearing all this information from the Lord. She's sitting at his feet. She's being discipled. And there's a sense in which she even overvalued that to the point of it trumping her worship of the Lord.
Yes,
That's what you were saying.
Yes. And the other thing too, and I don't think I mentioned it in either service. I think I briefly mentioned that I was going to go there and I didn't do it. And that's James, where James said, maybe I did do it.
You did. James 2:14,
James,
2:17.
Where James says, you say you have faith, but you have no works.
Right.
Well, really, come on. Are you really going to call that faith?
Yeah.
And so you see Mary sits and she sits, just like we're going to this seminar, we're going to that preaching service, we're going to this discipleship program, we're going to this, and you go to them and you take notes and you take notes and you take, but it never works out in practical ministry.
Right. You've got to be, when you even use that illustration of the guy who's going to all these things and he's an atheist.
Yes. Yeah, it's part of Robbie's church up there. I thought that was a powerful illustration. He said, you go to this guy, because nobody was expecting that. You go to this guy and say, hey, man, we're really glad the Lord saved you and you're a Christian. Oh, no, I'm an atheist. But I'm at every service, and I've gone on a mission trip, and I handed out bulletins at the door, which I'd have a problem with letting him serve in any capacity.
Right.
I'd be glad that he's there.
That.
But, yeah. And I wonder how many folks do we have in a church like that?
I hope not many, but there's definitely some. Statistically speaking, there's some, and that's why I try to address that in prayer and in transition moments on Sunday where we can. Like, there's some of you here that are not in Christ. Well, we're praying for you, and this message is for you, for you as well. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, so you really landed it with Mary, how she came back to worship. She anoints Jesus for burial. She has, like Martha, has come to this understanding of who Christ is and what his work is going to be on the cross.
Now, I've got to do some ministry. And she does. And the fact of the matter is she's doing ministry to Christ, who in those last 6 days, I am certain, as a man, needed somebody to minister to him.
Yes, because he knew.
And so she comes and anoints his feet, which is a very moving,
scene.
Yes.
But that's an act of worship too.
Thank you for being kind to me, because I am going to be so mistreated by the end of this week. Thank you for sharing some grace with me. Thank you for sharing some kindness with me. People along the way, just folks along the way that do that. I just got, Debbie put it on my desk. She said, here's a graduation invitation from a girl that you dedicated as a baby in Dallas, at First Baptist Church of Dallas. And she's graduating, and she said, you'll really want to read the note. Well, now that's on a Monday morning. Well, I've got an extremely busy week.
It's a busy week, yeah.
And, it'll be nice. I'm going to go back in there and sit down and read that. It'll be nice to have somebody treat you with a little bit of
after 30
kindness.
minutes of being berated by me, you finally get someone to treat you with a little bit of kindness.
Beating that I'm taking.
We're holding court in here. Hey, well, so that was. I don't know that there's much more to say about that message. I think it was balanced. We saw the pros and cons of Mary and Martha's approach, but the best part was you showed how the Lord changed them and sort of brought them both to faithful service there at the end.
What worship will do for us if we will just genuinely worship.
I feel like you've been thinking a lot about worship recently.
I have. And this Sunday, is graduation Sunday, and now I am off on a passage, don't ask me why, in Jeremiah chapter 10.
Okay, let's do it.
And then I will for sure get back to Exodus.
Sure you will.
But I can't get away from Jeremiah 10:10. The Lord is the true God. He is the living God and the everlasting King. His wrath, the earthquakes, at his wrath, the earthquakes, and the nations cannot endure his indignation. Now, I don't know if I'll go there or not. I don't know. But I'm thinking of all these students that are going out, and I'll tell you why. And this is fascinating. Probably no one in the world of academics has contributed more to this generation's turning away from Scripture than Bart Ehrman at the University of North.
Bart Ehrman, yeah.
Yeah, Bart Ehrman. And I get Bart and Bart, not Karl Barth, but Bart, what's that
Bart
guy?
Lehman?
Tony Campolo's son, Bart Campolo. Bart Ehrman, who teaches there at the University of North Carolina, who is textual critic, who went to Moody, who went to Wheaton, who graduated from Princeton in their divinity school and worked under Metzger, Bruce Metzger, one of the great evangelical Greek scholars, and has now become an agnostic at best. Well, lo and behold, one of his prized students through the years, who used to be his assistant, who majored in the same area of religion in America and, textual criticism and that, Molly Horthen, who teaches it, has become, she found the Lord. She didn't find it. The Lord wasn't lost. The Lord found her. She's given her life to Jesus Christ.
That's incredible.
Oh, I'm telling you.
So now
now she has made it public. I knew this had happened sometime back because I know her pastor, and I wrote him and I said, I'm not going to say anything, but I've heard this, and what a joy. And she was kind of keeping it somewhat under wraps because she was fearful. I mean, brand new Christian. She was a little bit fearful. What is school going to do to me? What's this going to do to my colleagues? Anyway, she's come out publicly now and professed Christ.
Now that's a good coming out. That's
so
what I'm talking about.
yeah. It's just, and I'm thinking about these college students going off to school, where they're going to have every professor stand up and say, Scripture is, you can't believe it because it's been redacted and it's been copied and copied and copied, and, to where it has changed and you can't trust in it at all.
Which is just so philosophical.
So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about just saying, young people, you can trust it. Giving a couple of little examples. But just saying, you're going to be challenged. If you haven't been already, you're going to be. And the fact of the matter is, faith is not blind. You don't just step off a ledge into a cavern. But the Word of God is the best attested ancient piece of work anywhere.
That is academically true.
Yes, it is.
That is just
Go check out all of the stuff on Dan Wallace's website.
Oh, okay.
Who is a brilliant textual critic, and says that all this textual criticism has done is get us closer to what the original has said.
Michael Kruger says something similar.
Yeah.
That guy's excellent work on the canon. Well, so I'm excited. You guys, we're going to see you on Sunday morning where Pastor continues his series on Exodus through Jeremiah chapter 10. I love saying stuff.
That I have to stop and think, how does he figure that? How do you come to that? Anyway.
And hey, Wednesday night, if to know Awana is to love Awana, and our
they've already got these huge blow-up things in there.
I'm telling you, man,
it's going to be a fun night.
Awana Awards Night this Wednesday night. I've waited the whole pod for this moment. Awana Awards Night. Coming up this Wednesday night, it's our final midweek gathering of the year is Awana Awards Night. Then it's graduation Sunday this Sunday.
Yeah, I go to preach at the National Preaching Conference Wednesday night.
Oh, cool. Where's that at?
That's in Charlotte. Yeah, I lead a breakout session that afternoon, preach that night with H.B. Charles, and I'm in a roundtable discussion with Dean Ensenera on Thursday morning.
Tell them hi for me.
I told Dean that I would sit there while he answered questions. He could answer the questions. I would be the eye candy.
I love his book, The Unsaved Christian. That was so helpful. Really, really helpful. Okay, well, this has been fun for me. Thanks for taking the time this Monday morning. Now go get back to your encouraging notes. Say goodbye, Pastor.
Goodbye, Pastor. All right.